Hey there, this is Daryl Olson from the Jackson Fishing Team, and our last fly in our preparation for the Greenbrier Smallmouth Tournament in West Virginia is I'm actually going to do a popper fly, but it's going to be Lefty Kreh did a lot of stuff, including the Deceiver, um, which is a good fly also for the smallmouth. But I'm going to do is kind of roll back a little bit, tie what his version of a popper is, and we'll take a closer look at it. And he uses cork, so we're gonna do that. You could make it out of the soft foam or the soft heads that are available on the market, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun to go, let's say, old school and tie one up using some small corks. And but of course it does use the modern hook for poppers. So but anyway, let's get going and tie Lefty Kreh's version of a popper, and hopefully it'll catch you some bass. Let's give it a try. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to slice make a flat side on the cork, and you're going to need a sharp razor blade for that. Sharp razor blade and this cork, and I'm going to try to cut it so maybe you can see it, and hopefully I can do it without cutting myself. Make sure you're using something on the bottom. And there we go. I'm just going to cut a couple more while I'm at it. On there. You've got to have at least 3. One of these popper hooks, got a bend in it. This is a size 1/0, and we're going to want to cut it so that the eye of the hook is, so that it's just below the thing. So you don't want it right in the middle. I don't know if you can see that, but and the way we're going to do that is by using an old hacksaw blade or whatever. And we're going to want to make sure this line, that little bevel, is right in the middle. Because if it's not, it's might throw your popper off a little bit. Yeah, going off a little bit there. And just a little bit, just down just a bit there, and then we want to go a little bit deeper in the back. And then we'll position our eye in there and take a look. And that looks pretty good to me. In fact, that cut probably a lot better than the one that I'm going to be tying on. And we'll take some super glue or Zap-A-Gap. In this case, I'm going to use some Zap-A-Gap. And I'm going to put some Zap-A-Gap on there. on that part. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to kind of fill in that area a little bit. And we'll let that set up. Alright, this is well, you saw it earlier, but this is a big zoom in picture of the Lefty Kreh popper. We're use a squirrel tail, some Cactus Chenille. He didn't use rubber legs, but I added it on there. And then there's some eyes, and then I colored the cork. But Lefty says that's a natural color. You really don't need to color it. But in my case, I did, just because it might look prettier. And here's the one I colored. So the ones where I just did and put the head on, you know, I got to let those dry. And then color them up after they dry on there, and then paint them up, you know. And I used that model paint, you know, like Testers on there. I suppose you could use markers if you want, but I'm not sure how well a real cork would do that. We can grab a black one anyway and see what it'll do on a piece here. So it looks like you could do it. You could paint them with marker if you want. I wasn't sure at the time when I was doing it, but there you go. So we're going to go ahead and start tying this up. I'm just going to use some heavy 210 Denier thread. Doesn't matter the color, it's going to be primarily covered up, so I've got some short truce what's on the spool. And I'm going to start the thread. And take it back to where the barb is. But that reminds me, I don't know, but I'm gonna crimp that barb. Down, just because I like to, if I hook myself or if I hook into a fish, I can let him go a little easier, or he can get off himself, you know, a long distance release on there. And I'm just going to go back to where the bend is. I'm going to use some fox squirrel tail. You could use calf tail, you could use marabou, you could use EP fibers if you want. But I'm going to use fox squirrel. Again, I'm going to clean out the under fur. And then just so that the tail looks kind of even in the back, I'm going to go ahead and throw it in my hair stacker. One thing about hair stackers, I don't know if I've covered it before, but you're going to want to have the hair fibers, the end of them, the pointy part, in the direction that you that points away, so you don't have to handle it so much. And just pull it out. And we want it to be about the length of the hook shank. That looks pretty close there. And I'm going to put it in and out. Squirrel is pretty slippery. I'm going to lift this up and put a loop up under there to help lock it in a little bit. And then I'm going to taper these off. Yeah, that orange looks pretty darn good with that red fox squirrel. And then I'm going to use some medium orange chenille, or hot orange it says. And I'm just going to unroll it all and then trim off some of the ends or pull off the fibers here. So I just got a cord. And I'll take this back up right behind that head here. And then we're going to wrap this around that shank going forward. And the concept of the long hook, from what I understand, is it makes it a little bit heavy on the back, so actually the hook is riding lower in the water than the cork is. So it opens up the gap of your hook for those bass, or maybe a large brim or whatever. But you know, you could probably use the smaller hook on this cork. Most of the time you'll see the corks or poppers have a shorter hook shank. But the pictures that I've seen of Lefty's poppers looked like they had a long shank. I'm not really sure, but I'm assuming that it's because of how the hook's going to ride in the water, so the hook gap is below the water column. And then of course the story goes with should the head have a cup in the front to make it sound more popping, or should it be a flatter head? I guess there's some controversy or work about that. I'm not really sure what the thoughts are, but on there, give it a couple wraps here. Trim that off. And we can use either a whip finisher or hand whip finish. And then we'll give it some eyes, optional again. And I'm using, I don't know, some pretty small eyes. Maybe an 1/8 inch, I don't know. Just some small ones. A little dab of super glue. Now the hard part, trying not to glue my hand to the fly. try to replicate that placement on the other side. Kind of look at it like that and try to position them so that they're in line with each other. And then what we're going to do is we're going to poke a hole through the cork. And put in some rubber legs. It will pin a hole through there. Thing with the corks, it does kind of blow out on the back side a little bit. But, well, I guess that's what it is. That's what it is. And then we're going to take our threader, put that through the hole, and get some round using some orange with black specks. I don't know, might look kind of nice. I don't need all of that. We just have two strands here. I'm going to put it through the threader. And then pull them through. Pull them so they're about the same length. Bring them up, check them that way, trim them off a bit. And next, to help keep them eyes on a little longer, I'm going to use some UV resin to help glue all that together. And it'll also maybe protect my paintwork a little bit. UV resin is pretty rubber friendly. It's unlike super glue or other head cements that'll deform the rubber. zap that. And there we have it, a Lefty Kreh popper. Even though I didn't show you the painting process, the artsy part, but you know, if you use your imagination and you can color them whatever color you want, just have fun with it. Or you can just leave them natural. They don't have to be painted. You know, the painting part of it, I think, is just for is to catch the angler, the eye of the angler, maybe. I'm not sure, but I'm going to say so. Maybe the fish don't care. Anyway, this is Daryl Olson from Jackson Kayaks, and hopefully you'll find these series of bass flies interesting enough to put in your bass box and to try them out for smallmouth or largemouth, and we'll see you on the water. But the next series I'm going to do, it's getting to be springtime here in Charleston, South Carolina. Time to be going maybe looking for some redfish or maybe some speckled trout, flounder, things like that. I do have a trip I'm planning in maybe later in June to go down to Florida to maybe check out some snook or something like that. So I think we're going to tie up a series of 6 saltwater flies for you, and that'll be kind of fun to do. Anyway, we'll see you on the water.